Nickelbine back again with lesson 3 of how to play the jug. Thanks for watching. I am going to finally give you the episode I'm sure you've all been waiting for, and in fact I'm sure some of you haven't waited. That is, we're actually going to play the jug today, actually play real jugs. I noticed that on YouTube that the thumbnails for my first 2 lessons don't show me holding any jug, which for a video series on how to play the jug might seem confusing for some viewers. But if you have watched the first 2 episodes, I hope you've been practicing your embouchure, that lip buzzing, because that's really where all the music is made. In fact, I was playing jug at a jam just earlier this week, and somebody came up to me and said, you know, I've got a jug at home and I just can't get any sound out of it. Is it the jug or is it me? And I was able to confidently assure him that it was him. And you know why if you've been watching the earlier videos in this series. Because the jug itself is really only acting as a resonator for the most part. And the music has entirely to do with your control of your lips and your tongue, and of course your own musical ability to pick out bass lines or lead lines or whatever it happens to be. So I guess the first thing and most important thing that I would emphasize when it comes to selecting a jug is don't get too hung up about it. It's easy to believe that there's some magical jug out there that's going to make you sound great. That the problem with your sound is in the jug. Generally that's not the case. It's your musicianship, it's not the jug. Okay, so having said all that, you know, specifically in terms of practice, you know, you can use almost anything that will resonate back to you. One of the most common things that you could use would be a simple plastic milk jug. You know, you've probably recycled at least 2 of these this week. Very easy to get a hold of, very light, but they sound pretty good. Listen. So, you know, in fact, once I actually taught an entire kindergarten class to play the jug using just empty milk jugs, and they sounded pretty good too. Another variant on this that is actually used by a lot of people are Clorox jugs. They're about the same size and weight, actually, but a little bit denser plastic, so they may not have their own harmonic quite so badly, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Another possible avenue to go is a simple glass jug or container. This is a glass milk bottle, but you could use a cider bottle. A beer growler is a great backup, or you know, a practice jug if you'd like. These can sound very good too. So there's that. The other thing is that if you're not going to go with a ceramic jug like this, there's 2 things that you should look out for. And one is that the mouth needs to be big enough. And that's actually true for ceramic jugs too. And that's true for 2 reasons. One is that, as we discussed in the last lesson, the sound energy's got to get into that hole so it can resonate. If you've got a hole that's too small, you're going to have to really pucker up your embouchure in order to get the sound noise into the bottle rather than around it. And that can reduce the sound pretty dramatically. So it's got to be, you know, at least I would say maybe the size of a quarter, maybe a little smaller. At least it does for me. Maybe you've got a very small mouth. The other thing, though, that's really important is something I mentioned just a minute ago, and that is the bottle or jug itself should not have a very loud harmonic of its own. Now, what I'm talking about here is that if it's made out of a lightweight material or a highly resonant material, such as metal, metal is a great example. But even to a certain extent, this glass bottle that I played just a minute ago, it will ring all by itself at its own frequency, whether you blow into it or you tap it or whatever. You know, it's going to have its own frequency, its own note, so to speak, that it's going to play. That note may be, you know, completely at odds with the melody that you're trying to play. And, you know, as a result, you get some strange sounds. So you want to find a jug that's not going to be adding any notes of its own. And you'll be able to tell when you know, if you try something out and you hear it ringing kind of all by itself, not according to the note you're playing. That's generally not going to be a very good jug, particularly for performance, but it can also be really annoying if you're just practicing. So watch out for those vessels that create their own harmonics. Now, what's kind of considered the standard jug among jug players is, you know, just the standard ceramic jug. This is my jug number one. And it's what's called a 1 gallon shoulder jug, and it's got that name because, as you can see, it's kind of got this shoulder that comes off on the side here. And you know, this is sort of the classic jug. It's the one that makes it into all the graphics, and you know, you often see the old black and white photos of jug players from the 20s playing a jug at this size, or maybe large, or maybe up as large as 2 gallons. And these work very well in that they do a really good job of amplifying the notes that you play into them. They deepen and make that sound more resonant. So it goes from to so it does make a big difference in terms of, not in terms of the notes that you hear, of course, but in terms of how loud and full the sound is. So I know of no rules in terms of how to tell by looking at a jug how it's going to sound, except that the larger the jug, the more amplification and depth you're going to get from the notes. Whereas the smaller the jug, the more it's going to kind of sound a little bit more like you're just lip buzzing. So also again, a little bit, if you get a little bit wider in the mouth, you often get more sound, because again, remember that most of the sounds going in and coming out the same hole. There's a little resonance through the sides, but for the most part, this is where the noise is coming through as well. So you know, you may want to think of it in terms of allowing enough room for all that traffic in terms of musical notes. So those would be then the basics on getting your own jug. Every jug's got its own character. As I believe it was Gus Cannon said, you just have to keep looking until you find one that's got music in it. So for now, that's all I've got. My name's Scott Knickelbine. Thanks for joining me on How to Play the Jug.